that the resumption of student loan payments in the coming months could be a drag on consumer spending. So how is the White House considering interest repayments, student loan repayments, in its view of the economy in the coming months?
So look, when the president put forth his student debt relief, obviously it was part of his broader economic plan, right? Giving Americans a little bit more of a breathing room, as he said, as we're coming out of the pandemic, certainly, and wanting to do that in a way that helped the people who needed it the most. And certainly you've seen us make announcements on continuing to do what we can from here on giving Americans that breathing room. And here's who we're talking about. We're talking about Americans that are making $75,000 or less, right? Majority of them. That's what we're talking about, who deserve to have a little bit of breathing room. And if we do this, you're talking about Target, if we do this, are able to give folks that breathing room, we believe, and we have seen, that they then would give back to the economy, right? Or be able to buy a home, or able to do things that actually build back the economy. And so there are benefits on both sides. I can't speak directly to the Target question. I have not seen that reporting, but I can speak broadly to what the president thinks and how he sees that particular plan moving forward and what we're trying to do as it relates to student loan debt.
Are you worried that because his broader plan, though, isn't really moving forward, it will undo some of the economic progress that he's been out touting?
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, we just talked about the Inflation Reduction Act. We've talked about the CHIPS and Science Act. We talked about the bipartisan infrastructure law. You heard the president in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and other places. We saw him in New Mexico talking about climate change and extreme weather. Podesta just talked about South Carolina, his trip to South Carolina recently. The president has gone across the country speaking about how some of these investments, if you will, the Invest in America, are actually bringing good paying jobs and helping grow the economy. And not just that. You look at the data that we've seen, 13.4 million jobs created. You see unemployment nationally under 4%. Those are real data points. Inflation is moderating. Again, real data points. And you think about a law like the Inflation Reduction Act that's going to lower costs. We're talking about healthcare, prescription drugs, insulin capped at $35 a month when you think about our seniors. And so all of these things are incredibly important. This is all part of the president's broader plan here. Clearly, the student loan is a major factor, and we're going to continue to try to make sure that we live up to what the president promised families across the country.
Investigators in Kansas are looking into a raid on a newspaper office there. Has the president read anything about this case? Does he have a response to it, or do you have a response to it?
So we've seen reports. I've not spoken to the president about this. I know this happened a couple of days ago about the raid on the Marion County record offices, and certainly they raise a lot of concerns and a lot of questions for us. I don't want to get ahead of the facts and the legal process, as you all know, that's underway. But more broadly speaking, it is important to me and from here and to the president to reiterate, as he has done many times before, the freedom of the press. That is the core value when we think about our democracy. When you think about the cornerstone of our democracy, the freedom of press is right there. That is our core value. So this administration has been vocal about the importance of the freedom of press here and around the globe. As we all say, the president always speaks about that, whether it doesn't matter who he's talking to when he's visiting a country, talking to a head of state, and will continue to reaffirm and protect this fundamental rights enshrined in the very First Amendment. And so you can certainly count on us to continue to do that. As far as the legal aspect of this, I would have to refer you to Department of Justice. Okay, Michael.
Thanks, Corinne. Can you give us a preview of the President's Trilateral Summit on Friday with the leaders of Japan and South Korea? What are the President's goals going into this? What does he hope to accomplish?
So I will give you a little bit on this, but I also want to share that Jake Sullivan is going to be on Friday morning, I believe. He's going to be talking to the pool. Our national security advisor is going to do a preview on that day ahead of Camp David, ahead of the Trilateral, and so he'll be briefing the press pool at Camp David, and certainly we'll be able to live stream that, so everyone will certainly hear what he has to say. What I will share from here is, as you all know, from day one, President Biden has made strengthening alliances and partnerships a priority, and so Friday's summit at Camp David is a historic milestone in that effort. President Biden very consciously chose to host Prime Minister Kishida and Prime Minister Yoon for the first summit of foreign leaders at Camp David in this administration, and the first visit of any foreign leaders to Camp David, as many of you know, since 2015. So the summit reflects how important these two bilateral relationships are and how important the trilateral relationship is to the United States and our security and economic prosperity. So the summit is the direct result of courageous leadership from the Prime Minister of Japan and also the President of ROK, who have seized the moment and helped usher in a new era for their countries. So this trilateral summit marks a turning point and recognizes that we have entered a new and more ambitious era of trilateral partnership in which we come together to address unprecedented regional and global challenges. As I just mentioned, our National Security Advisor ahead of the trilateral meeting is going to be addressing the pool, and certainly we'll be able to live stream that for all of you.
The President said last week that he is going to be going soon to Vietnam. Do you have any details on when he's going? Will that be part of the trip to India for the G20, or is that a separate trip?
So I don't have anything to share. Once we have something to share on that